Hello everyone, Rudy Productions here, aka Dustin, back again with the 5th episode of Trackplan Banter, and here with me is an interesting guest host this time around.
Mom.
Yes. Mom. So...
Danae Rudy, for those who are not my child. So I guess today's episode is the parent perspective, or maybe just perspective of somebody who is living with a Thomas fandom. I don't know. Does the community have a... What do you guys call yourselves? What do you...
That's a
that's
a large point of debate.
That is a good source of contention. Like, you know, it'd kind of be nice to have a name. Yeah. So that way, I mean, you have to be able to introduce yourself in public. And you'd be like, I know you tend to just go full out ridiculous and be like, I like Twains. But...
Yeah, the options that are currently on the table are not... are probably more ridiculous than that.
Yeah. If I'm talking to, like, my friends and we're talking about our kids, and I'll be like, oh yeah, you know, my oldest son... I said, well, you know how you got, like, all these old men who are, like, really big into Lionel and American Flyer? I'm like, well, so now there's this huge community of, like, 20 and 30-somethings that it's all about, like, wooden railway. I said, you know, I just leave it at that. And I was like, and at first they'll look at me a little weird. And I'm like, but it's YouTube. I was like, the old shows were so simplistic in their... modeling, and, you know, don't take simplistic as a negative term. Like, that was kind of the beauty of it. It's just very cathartic. And
they recently said in a blog post about the reboot that it's like, because it was slow and simplistic, it was better for a younger audience. We're hoping to do something more ecstatic that will reach wider. And it's like, no, you idiots.
We're hoping to take away what makes this special. Yeah. Thomas used to be a very special engine, and now he's just like every other stupid show on TV.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That's why it is the older teens and the 20-year-olds who kind of remember, who grew up with the wooden railway, where you can really build something on your own. And back when the TV shows were modeling, which I think nowadays is just, it's so nice to have something real. You know, everything on show is digitalized. Everything is an algorithm popped into a computer. And I think to have a kids show that's based on, like, modeling is so cool. Even like the old Mr. Rogers. You know, it was all puppets and an actual, like...
Yeah, actual trolley and all that.
So anyways, this is called Trackplan Banter, or Black Pan Tranter, what? Anyways, we're supposed to be talking about track plans, right? So,
yes,
as a mom, my biggest thing is, where are you going to set up this thing? Right? So you kind of have your spaces now, but gosh, our whole lives, that's been... It's like an issue. Where do you set it up?
Well, at least at our old house, we had enough rooms that there could always be a room dedicated to, this is where you set up your toys.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's not so great, because all of our spare spaces are used for storage.
We have a 26-acre farm, and still can't manage to find the space to designate to set up an actual track. But this house is a little smaller than our old house. There's 6 people that live here, so there's not just, like, tons of extra space. So at this point, Dustin is actually seriously thinking about buying a shed where just it can all go in a shed, and he has a designated space, which is not a bad idea.
Except money.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's always an issue. But yeah, where to set up is always, I mean, now you usually just set up in your bedroom, but then you can't walk. Walking, who needs that?
What's really I don't mind the not being able to walk. It's the not being able to pull my chair out from under my computer desk to use my computer.
Yeah, I can see that being
Which
more
makes
of a problem.
situations like this, where I'm sitting at my computer to record an episode, a bit difficult.
I think my favorite was last year. We were talking about this earlier. Last year around Christmas time, we just sort of designated an area. Like, we pulled the couch out a little bit. And what did we use? We used an end table?
We took 2 end tables and put them between the couches, and then put cardboard on top of those end tables.
Okay.
And then I set up a little Christmas layout on there that you guys will... some of you guys probably saw the pictures of that on Twitter last year.
I thought the Christmas layout was fun because I could kind of get into it too. I sort of made some little wreaths that you could hang around, and
yeah,
so
all the wreaths and just the little details, the Christmassy details were all added by her.
The only thing I didn't like was the rocks because they didn't stay. Of course, we also have. We 7 now, but we had a 6-year-old in the house, so...
Yeah, so he'd see a wooden train set up, and he'd do what any 6-year-old would do. Whatever we did, he'd play on it. And, I had this, stone set up as ballast, sorta, and they'd shift and rock around and all that. But, fortunately, we avoided any huge messes.
Yeah, it wasn't too terrible, and because it wasn't the cardboard, the takedown wasn't horrible either.
Yeah.
But it was just a decent amount of space. I don't know. It was.
Yeah.
It was like 4 foot by 5 feet or something like that. It wasn't huge.
Yeah, it wasn't huge, and all I did was a scene. I just had a generic big station sort of vibe going on, where I kind of hybridized Brendam Docks, Knapford Station, and Tidmouth Sheds into one, okay, this is the big station at the end of the line location.
Well, so I know when you're building stuff for an actual video, or you always have all these different you're this is the quarry, this is the I don't know, whatever sheds. I don't know the areas. I don't know. all I know is, every once in a while we argue over how to pronounce things like Arlesborough. And
she was sure it was Arlesburg, and I'm like, no, these are British people, Mom.
And then, so anyways, I have British friends, so I teach horseback riding lessons, so the one is my student, and
as indicated by her channel icon.
Yes, Rudy Horsemanship.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you wonder where I got the name Rudy Productions from?
But anyways, Bev, it was at the end of one of her lessons. I had the word typed in one of my texts, and I was like, "Hey, how would you pronounce this?" And she looks at it and she goes, "Arlesburg." And I said, "No, before you moved here." She goes, "Oh, Arlesborough." And I was like, "Oh, okay, the kid's right then." Whenever you put together just a small, shove as much things into one space, that kind of makes the rest of us happy. I know that does not satisfy your creative needs of creating the entire island of Sodor.
Yes. The ambitious Sudrian project, as I am currently calling it. It's
so we were
the name
talking,
is a work in process.
And different days I was asking Dustin what's his motivations for certain things, and you kind of figured out really you just want to create the whole darn island. Yeah, the storylines are all
not ambitious at all, is it?
but the storylines, the YouTube channel, all of that is totally secondary to.
It's kind of a byproduct, but yet a very involved byproduct.
But it makes me curious, to anyone who's painfully listening to the mom edition here. What are your motivations? Whether it's if you have a YouTube channel, what's the motivation for the YouTube channel? Is it just so that you can make the episodes that you wish existed? Is it because you love video editing? Don't laugh. I love video editing, actually.
I hate it.
Yeah, actually, so many times we'll be somewhere and I'm like, oh my gosh, we could green screen this, or we could do some cool perspective thing. Like, Dustin, you can set your trains up here, and we could do like one of these crazy perspectives where it looks like the train's going up that hill over there. And he's like, Mom, I'm so not into that. And I'm like, why? It would be so cool. I'm like, I would totally be on board. I would like be helping you put all these videos together if we could like do the cool weird ass video editing stuff. And then but you're just not into that.
Yeah, it boils down to I'm not interested into creating Sodor in the edit. I'm interested in creating Sodor like in the barn.
Yeah, it kills me. I'm like, man, I could actually get into this if we were just gonna like put some badass like video editing together because I like that part. But well, you even have troubles like to set up just one scene because you're like, no, I have to create this whole.
Yeah, back when I was in the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna do sets, I created a theoretical Vickerstown set, like, just on paper. And it was huge. It was massive. Now, I justified it by saying, like, oh, this is going to be, like, the main hub for the first, like, few things. Because Vickerstown was the original headquarters. That was HQ. So, of course, it's going to be big and massive. But really, it's just part of a higher thing that I just want to create a full layout of the Sodor and its railways in a pseudo-realistic style where I can run realistic railway operations and run the whole layout as a real railroad.
And then I'm like, did you want to make a YouTube video or not? Which, I mean, that's why you don't finish, like, a YouTube series, is because for you, that's not really the main motivation. Your main motivation is you like the idea of setting up
where
the whole creation.
There definitely is a love of storytelling in there for me, though it does, it's second. But when I say it's second, it's like how Thomas is number 1 and Transformers is number 2. Like, it's really still high up there. It's just, it's not number 1.
Gotcha. And I guess, I sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, well, if you're going to build a YouTube channel, build a YouTube channel. Like, if you're going to build the island of Sodor out in a shed, then buy the shed, do the things. I'm a little intense if y'all haven't figured that out yet.
She is very intense.
So.
This is coming off of last weekend. We had a 4-day seminar with this guy called Tony Robbins.
Unleash the power within.
Yeah, we were dancing in our living room just about every 30 minutes.
Oh, when I tell people that, yeah, we did a 4-day seminar, they're like, I couldn't sit for that long. I'm like, well, there wasn't much sitting between the Egoscue guy, the Wim Hof guy, the dance breaks every 30 minutes. Yeah, they had us doing a lot. They also have you doing things like sticking your fingers in your nose while you look at the webcam that's connected to 10,000 plus other people while you say your limiting beliefs. And it's just a brain trick to get you to let go of your limiting beliefs. So one of my limiting beliefs is it's this little lie that I tell myself, which is I don't waste my time on Facebook all day long until...
She still uses Facebook.
I took the app off my phone, I'll let you know, and I've been very good. I check, like, my own page, I catch in with a couple things, and I'm off. I mean, it's only been 2 days. So...
Yeah. And my limiting belief, which, because I think this is kind of relevant to what we're talking about,
yeah,
is my limiting belief has always been that, like, my habits are a part of me and I can't change them, which has been really bad as far as completing projects at all.
Yeah.
Because one of my big habits is procrastination. There's a reason there's only 5 episodes that have come out this year. And it's weird because I always thought like I was, like I always thought it was a matter of motivation or just energy or confidence or lack thereof. When really it's not that I lack those things, it's that I was in the habit of performing those things, and that has definitely had a adverse effect on any of my projects when in relation to this layout and any projects I've had, especially given that like it would affect me at my job, and you know my income kind of affects how good I am at trying to build up this layout, because as much as I have this layout is supposed to be massive. It's I don't like saying it's not enough, but it's not enough.
Well, so that kind of brings up a good point too. So you've got, you're certainly not the only one in this boat. I do think it's really relevant that this community in general is mostly a bunch of younger guys, whether it's teens, 20s, and a lot of them have that like, oh geez, this is my thing that I'm into, and some have no problems being like, yep, I like Thomas the Tank Engine, and I like all of the stuff that goes with it, and I have my YouTube channel, or my layout, or, whatever it is. But, like, Dustin, I know for you, you've struggled with, like, geez, I'm supposed to be an adult now, and the only thing that I want to spend my money on is more destinations, or more track, and
more locomotives, more rolling stock.
Yeah, and then you don't do your YouTube channel because just what your motivation is for the YouTube channel, you get stuck there because you don't have all the pieces that you want. And you feel like you can't do the
And to
YouTube
get all the
stuff.
pieces I want, I need to adult.
Right. But then if you're going to adult, you're like, geez, I should be saving all that money towards, driving my ass to college and, all of those things. And I know that's...
Well, at least that one shouldn't be a problem now.
Yeah, so I know that's been a struggle for you. But for me as a parent at this point, I'm like, you know what? You're 19. At this point, you just need to learn the skills of being able to have a job and take some courses and still do the things that you like. So if your motivation for working is that you want to put together the money to build a shed, I'm like, you know what? That's still you making a goal, a big goal, having motivation to go work, to go put in extra hours, and then to buy a shed, and then actually, honestly, around here, we're do-it-yourselfers. We're going to be like, buy the freaking wood, you're building it, dude. and
Either that, or we're modifying the top of the granary.
Yeah, that's possible too. Either way, you're going to have to pick up some power tools and, go to work. So, we're all about that. But either way, like, it is real world stuff. Whether you buy a shed or build one still, like, the work that you've done to, get the money, to get those things, to go buy the shed, to have it delivered, or to go buy material and to build it. Even if you buy a pre-made shed, you're still going to have to be building tables, and I know you're going at different levels, and it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be huge. I think when you find out how big of a space you want, you're like, crap, I'm going to have to build it myself.
I've seen some pretty big sheds, but
for me, like, I'm kind of at the point that I'm like, you know what? If that's what motivates you to get up at 6 a.m. and to go put in hours and, make money and do the thing, you know what? It's a real thing. It might be a shed and some destinations now, but that's going to teach you the same thing you're going to need to buy a house, to, you have a car right now that's a $2,000, two-door car. But yeah, like, as a parent, just you having the motivation to go do those things, like, you're 19. It's cool. It's okay. You're allowed to have whatever motivation you need. when I was like, you should interview me, I had all these ideas. What were they?
Well, I think one thing that is probably the most tied to track plans is back in the early days. You were the one who built a lot of layouts with me.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely in the beginning. My layout building skills I kind of got from you, and then evolved from there.
So, like, as a parent, when you were, I don't know, 3-4 years old, oh my gosh, like, building tracks together then, like, man, that was like engineering, you know, like, to have a kid putting all the pieces together, trying to figure out how to make everything work, you know, you have your switches that you put together, and of course at that point we only had so many of them, so it's like, you had to use all the ones
I still
that you
only have so many of them.
Well, okay, yes, infinite is a really large number. Such a large number, it's not even a number. But still, like, we only had limited things, and trying to put them together as creatively as possible. Gosh, back then I sure didn't think of it as limited track. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff, how do we incorporate all of it? Now, with the standards that you have, it's like, now it's not you trying to use every single piece of track. Now it's you trying to build a specific destination.
I still struggle with using even all my destinations. Now this is like here in my room where it's a small space, but there are some destinations that are just hard to incorporate even.
Yeah.
And that's coming from the guy who has managed to incorporate Tidmouth Sheds, Knapford Station, the Mountain Tunnel, and 2 Henry's Tunnels into one layout. And those have, like, the most track connection points out of all the destinations.
Yeah.
Well,
back then, you know, when you were really
back then,
young,
our biggest destination was the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
And we only had one of them.
Right. And that was a big deal when we got that. And that was
the Sawmill. That's another one that has awkward connection points that I've also worked into a layout.
But yeah, back then, like, I mean, I obviously, when I was kind of like the one sort of doing the most of putting things together, is you were like 4. Obviously, I was not trying to create, like, this is going to be Tidmouth Station. I was like, we're going to take this big piece, and we're going to stick it here, we're going to take that big piece, and we're going to stick it there, and I'm going to try to put track in between it. And then you'd be like 5, 6 years old, and then you'd drive a train around the, you know, basically my layout, and then you're like, well, I don't like this one because this doesn't connect to here, like, without me having to turn around something, I don't know. Like, you can only get to this loop from one way, and once you get on it, you can't get off of it, or something like that. So then I learned, I gotta pay attention.
I always hated needing to back up to get off of a section of track.
Yes, yes. So then I started paying attention to that stuff, you know, as we were building things.
Yeah. And then eventually I evolved to the point where it's like, nowadays I have like a pseudo-realistic style where I still keep wooden railway. Like, I stay true to the idea of wooden railway while also trying to incorporate real reasons for tracks to be there. Like,
yeah, I don't pay attention to none of that. I'm just, you know, can I make this fit? Can I make it? Oh, so speaking of that, okay, what do y'all call? I always said I need a female piece, or I need a male.
Yeah,
piece of
I'm pretty sure
is that pretty
that's
standard?
what they're.
You call it that. That's what I called it.
I think what, as far as adapters specifically,
Thank
we call
God,
them
back
like,
when you were 3, you didn't ask me what I meant by that.
Yeah, it's.
You were just like, okay, this is a female piece, that's a male piece. We never had to have the this is an innie and this is an outie conversation. That would make for a different birds and bees conversation. Well, here's pieces of track, and this is how they fit together.
I think the common terms is like, this is the male adapter and this is the female adapter.
Okay.
You know, male end, female end.
Yeah. It makes me wonder though if anybody when they were younger had different names for it, like, you know.
Yeah.
I'd be
Well,
curious.
people, go to that comment section that you never go to on my videos. I'm not staring disapprovingly at all.
Oh, we should have Gate come run up here and be like and subscribe.
Yes.
Oh.
Little Gate.
Oh my goodness.
Look, I try to steer the 7-year-old towards quality content, like many of the Thomas fandom members out here on YouTube. But then he just watches just the stupidest crap. I'm sorry. I have not been able to turn him.
Yeah, neither have I, because I try to get him to watch pony type stuff. He rides, so I try to look up YouTube videos of kids doing cool things.
See,
on ponies.
we're not all that different.
I can't get him to go for that.
She
either.
likes flesh horses. I like iron horses. It's
Yeah, one thing we've always had a lot in common, as different as our interests are. It's that same, like, I have been passionate about horses since the first day I ever knew what one was. And, I mean, that's now my career. It's why we own a 26-acre farm. So I definitely understand that drive to, you know, do and create stuff within your passion. Now, for me, it did become my career. But, you know, horses lends itself to that a little bit more. It's a little bit harder to make a career out of wooden railway.
yeah, kind of hard to make a career out of. Oh, I'm going to build a layout of the island of Sodor. Like, even if one could make an exhibit out of it, Mattel would come down on that with lawsuits a-flying.
We live fairly close to Roadside America. I mean, not like super close, but like it's a nice, easy day trip kind of thing. And
For those of you who actually know what Roadside America is.
Yeah.
Not everyone lives in Pennsylvania.
This is true. My mom took the kids there a lot, and it is a huge train layout. You know, electric trains, not.
Yeah.
Did they ever
roughly? I think it's roughly HO scale. I think it's HO. I'm not sure about that.
I think they sell a lot of wooden railway stuff in their gift shop, but I don't think they have anything.
I've never
set up.
seen. I've seen a few pieces of track for like off-brand wooden railway. I say off-brand, but it's really not off-brand. It's just not Thomas. Like I know I have a T-switch that looks really weird that I got from there. They had like alphabet cars, but they never had anything like really
Do they even
substantial.
ever put like the Thomas electric train on their layout? I don't think they even do that, do they? No. They're just. It's a very, very large, very, very detailed train layout. It is super cool to general audiences. It's maybe not at this point. I mean, Dustin's been there so many times that it's just kind of like meh.
It's not even meh. Like it's still like it's graduated from ooh, this is so cool sort of admiration to more like this brings me back admiration.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm too nostalgic to be like meh.
Yeah, it's true. You are very nostalgic, so
I'm nostalgic for things I wasn't even born for.
That's true. Like all of these 80s toys. And I was like, dude, I was born in 81 and I don't even know what this is. He's like, oh yeah, this came out in 18. Yeah. Damn, you be old. This came out in 1980 whatever. And I'm like, cool, I was 5. Oh gosh. So speaking of trains, have you watched Hell on Wheels?
No.
You have not watched Hell on Wheels?
No.
Dad watches it like every night, and it drives me nuts because I kind of hate it. Except some of the scenes are really good.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. They're building like
the Transcontinental Railway.
Yeah. Well, railroad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're in the United States now.
Yeah.
There are roads now. Ways, roads. Okay.
The British have ways. Americans have roads.
We like our consonants. Continences. No, that doesn't work. It sounds like consonants. Oh, hey, when you were a kid, do you remember how we used to practice math? It would be like, what's Percy plus Toby? I used to know the things, or at least the numbers. And yeah, that's how we practiced math. And you've just seen people like that didn't know listening to that conversation. And you're like, what are you talking about? I can't believe I don't remember their numbers anymore. Okay. Oh, we should like make a quiz for Thomas People's parents.
Okay, so what's Thomas's number?
1.
Good job. Unless it's in my series, in which it is 301.
Oh yeah, well let's not go there. Not today. None of this.
All right. Now, what is Donald's number?
9.
Yes. And his twin Douglas?
10.
Yes.
How comes I can remember that but not Percy? I seriously thought Percy was 2. Is that Henry?
Edward
Edward.
is 2.
Added the same thing.
Henry. Oh.
I know. I just killed people.
It's especially relevant since Edward and Henry are the 2 characters Mattel kicked out of the Steam team and Big World Big Adventures. So, like, those are the 2 characters that people are already sore about losing.
I just think it's hilarious how many souls I just killed right now. I just, like, murdered people.
See, here's the thing. People with your amount of knowledge are the
Yeah.
people who are running Thomas the Tank Engine, and that's what bothers people.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry for that. No, actually, that's not true, because I know that what made the original shows...
You're actually better than the people.
I know that what made the original shows amazing was the fact that it was modeling. It was real. It was not
For
digitized.
a long time, I accepted the CGI upgrade.
The simplicity was the beauty of it. And the thing is, it's not an upgrade anymore. I mean, once upon a time... Okay, when I was a kid, CGI was a big freaking deal. Like, Toy Story was the first, like, real CGI movie. And that... I remember seeing Toy Story for the first time and being like, wow, that looks so cool. Now, like, I mean, CGI is everything. It's cheap. It's easy. 15-year-olds can do it on the computer. Like, it's not a big deal anymore.
Well,
now, really good
for
CGI
a long time,
is amazing. If we're talking, like, the YouTube video of the giraffes diving off the high dive, where, like, literally people thought it was real. Oh, dear God. Like, did you watch that whole video? You realize it's not real, right? Okay, sorry.
She deals with a lot of idiots on the internet, by the way.
Doesn't everyone? Oh, some people do realize it's not their job to educate assholes on Facebook. I'm finally realizing that that's not my job. But anyway, gosh darn it, what was I talking about? You did it to me again, you turd. Have any of your other guests
CGI.
called you a turd? Oh yeah, CGI sucks. I mean, it's good, it's cool, like it's nice that it's a thing.
Yeah.
But nowadays, honestly, yes, it's much more expensive to have people create scenery and do things that way.
Yeah, and for a few seasons...
But that's what makes it cool now.
For a few seasons, the CGI in Thomas was really beautiful looking. And we kind of all came to a point where it's like, okay, if this is the sacrifice they have to make to keep Thomas going, right now the stories are good, we can deal with that.
Even if they green screened it, that'd be okay, because there'd still be like a real...
but
model
honestly,
train being pulled through or whatever.
Now I've kind of come to the idea that, like, models are really the only real way to capture the train with Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes.
Like, you don't see the engine in CGI. You see the character. And what really needs to be emphasized is the locomotives, the world they are in. Trying to bring this back around to layouts.
Yeah. Well, nowadays everything is so digital. I mean, I can't keep my 7-year-old from, playing on a tablet, and it's around everywhere. And I never even bought him that stuff, and other people like let him play on their phone, kind of thing. Like, I long for the days of when you were 4 years old and put, tracks together, because you were holding real things and building real things. It was wood. Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver wouldn't even work on it. Like, that stuff
I've been getting her indoctrinated.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Anything with time travel, I'm in. No, we're not doing a crossover with Thomas the Train in Time. Oh, well, you could go back in time. Yes, let's go back in time. Let's go back to where they actually use frickin' modeling. Except it's even cooler nowadays if they would use modeling because everything is so digital. What made them
They
special
could
back then?
make people come to the show just for the modeling.
Yes, they
and
could.
I'm not just talking Thomas fans. There would be just model enthusiasts. They're like, wow, there's a kids show nowadays that's actually using frickin' models.
That is so true. That is so true. What made the Thomas shows special back when they first started would be even more special and awesome and creative and cool now because everything is digital now. Like, it, you know, I mean, geez, back when
people would come to the series for the craftsmanship alone.
They would. They would. It would be amazing. And
Instead, they're downgrading from CGI to 2D.
oh, God.
2D animation.
Oh.
It's not even, like, good 2D animation.
That's just not okay.
Yeah. And apparently they are totally fine if Thomas jumps off the tracks and does a 360 to turn around.
Oh, God, no. No.
They say they draw the lines at using the wheels for hands. Which, I mean, yeah, it's a line, but it's a line that's out.
Please tell me they're not going to have wings next.
I mean, they've already done that in the dream sequences,
Oh.
where they've literally have Thomas spin everything but a train.
Wow. I'm so sorry for all of you who are big fans. And you know what? I guess I don't know if that part will get edited out or not, but when I said about crushing everyone's souls. Oh, no, that was good. That'll totally be in. But your souls, have already been crushed by the new shit they're putting on TV. So you have no soul left.
They will feel validated by how a non-fan looks at that and is just like, oh.
Yeah, that's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I mean, that's as bad as the bull on Barnyard having a freaking udder. Things that kill me. Trains don't fly. If you get milk out of a bull, I'm just saying you're doing something not quite right there. I mean, the bull might like it, but I'm just saying. And my real personality comes out. All right, so what's up next?
Yeah,
Do you have any more random faces sitting around here? I don't know. Quiz me. Ask me questions that I'm gonna have wrong answers to. It's hilarious. I think I'm funny. Oh, I put you on the spot.
Where
you can't.
Where did Topham get his name from?
Oh, well, we created the whole story. No, really, you want to go there?
I don't know. We'll be trudging too much on character gallery's turf.
Oh, yeah, we can't do that.
So, if we're going to rewind back to the past...
Oh, yeah, time travel. Go ahead. Sorry.
One thing... Since this is kind of like the parent looking at the kid perspective, the thing I did a lot as a kid, in accordance to my layouts, is when taking down a layout, of course I'm a big Transformers fan. And I've watched enough Transformer movies to know that when the Transformers have a clash on Earth, cities end up getting blown up. So...
I have no idea where you're going with this.
On more than one occasion, when I had to tear down a layout, I would also stage a large battle between the Autobots and Decepticons on the layout, and in the process, it would get completely demolished.
Okay. See, honestly, what I remember with you taking down track was you trying to organize everything. It's a shame that your room doesn't show signs of that amount of anal retentiveness that you had as a child.
People who watch my main channel and are wondering, where's layout video number 3? He said he wants to do these monthly or every other month. It's because my room is too much of a shithole for me to keep it clean enough to have space to set up a layout in.
I mean, I can't say anything because
It's really a big
I'm
problem.
39 and I still don't clean my room. I don't understand the point of drawers. You know? I live out of a wash basket. Whatever. I got better shit to do. Literally, cleaning stalls. Better shit to do.
Please. That's my job.
Well, it is right now, yeah, but, you know, only...
Even when it isn't my job, it'll still be my job.
Well, that's true, because you're... Well, anyway. Well, I remember... Gosh, I don't know how long we had that one roundhouse, but I put track across the top of it.
Ah, yes. We discussed this in my sheds video, me and Lenny.
Oh, okay.
This roundhouse right here. I have it right in my lap. It was sitting...
Okay, well, they can't see it, so...
Well, I know, but that's why
What's
I'm
it
selling
called?
them.
What's it... Do they know which one it is?
So, I mean, basically every roundhouse is Tidmouth Sheds. It's the deluxe roundhouse.
Okay, there you go.
The most inaccurate roundhouse, but also, like, the biggest.
Okay. Yeah, that little, like, groove in there.
Yeah.
I put track through there.
For people that don't
And
know the
as a
name
small-
specifically,
yeah.
it's the one with the red doors and the buttons. And,
Sound effects.
well, it's supposed to have sound effects.
Well, no, there's
I
not a
don't-
sound effect. Yeah, I don't know what
It reminds me... It's the sonic screwdriver all over again. See? It makes a sound. Sonic! See, it's the sonic roundhouse. There we go.
Yeah, not really. But anyways, yeah, I remember I put track across the top of there, and you thought I was, like, the coolest mom ever.
Yeah.
But that's... I feel like... I don't know. There's this part of me that feels like you should be offended by that now. Like, what roundhouse has track across the top of it? It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's not entirely ridiculous. It could be done in certain situations.
It's like the monorail. Oh, I know something parenty with building tracks. Do you remember when you colored on a whole bunch of your... wooden
Yes. Anyone
railway?
who's, anyone who has viewed my layout videos is probably like, why are there so many tracks with crayon on it? Well, I was 4.
I'm sure somebody has to be able to relate to that too. Like, that you know, have something, wooden railway, or, I don't know, maybe even some of the other types of sets where you're like, it has Sharpie all over it, or you wrote your name on it, or, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Luckily, most of it is not wooden railway brand track. It's like the generic learning curve brand.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. I do have 2 pieces of like actual wooden railway track that have crayon on the one side. 2 of my ascending tracks.
Oh, remember the really cheap track with the pegs in it, and the pegs would always fall out?
Even
Like the
wooden
generic.
railway has like... Now, the wooden railway pegs are a lot better. The peg itself is made of plastic.
Oh,
and it stays
yeah, I
in
know
a lot
what you're
better.
talking about.
But it still pulls out.
Yeah, we had a bunch of, like, Walmart special, I don't know, whatever, some generic wooden track that we had gotten, I don't know, ages ago, that all the wooden pegs kept falling out, like, constantly.
Yeah. That was shit track. It deserved to be colored on.
At the time, we were, like, so happy with it. Jeez, Craigslist was just coming out back then. Like,
And we never used it to get track?
no, I don't. That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm surprised that back then, no, we kind of had to buy everything new. Like, now it's easy to find large lots of basics.
Yeah.
But to get a kid started. Back then, it wasn't so easy. To
I
find
know.
that.
I used to think I had so much wooden track. Turns out it's just that when I had a layout on the floor, I think we were just more spread out than I remember. But, you know, then I got my stuff back out and I tried to build a compact layout, and I still had a large amount of room left. And of course, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then I bought 2 big lots of track, and that has never been a problem ever again.
I do think we had a lot of that really shitty track that fell apart, and we threw out all of the broken pieces.
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know what to tell you then.
If we did throw out any broken pieces, it wasn't that many.
Well, we had an
Because
awful lot with the wooden pegs.
I
that
know
we glued in.
we only had one set that had the wooden pegs in it. Most of the stuff we bought, it was from the learning center store. There was this one store near my grandma's place. That's where I got most of my Thomas stuff.
Ah, Grandma, the one who started it all.
She didn't get me the VHS tape.
Oh, okay.
Though she did start me on specifically Wooden Railway.
That's true.
For people wondering why there's a profile pic of Skarloey, it's because that was my first toy, is a Wooden Railway Skarloey. So yeah, not the typical first character, but
Did you pick that out, or Grandma just get it for you?
Grandma got it for me, and she
Okay.
had it sitting on her blue kitchen table when I walked in to stay for the weekend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So at one point we were talking about limiting beliefs. Like, if people are confused by the term limiting beliefs can be like, I suck, nobody will ever love me. And then if you think that way, well, then you're not going to put yourself in positions where people will express their love to you. So it's like a limiting belief that negatively impacts your life. Like, it's a belief and it limits you. So
I mean, I think the description is in the name, but
it is, but that one is kind of confusing because I've had other people, like adults that I teach writing lessons to. They'll say something about limiting beliefs and they just stare at me kind of weird. I think they understand the words, but they don't understand the concept. But no, I think it's a big deal to just get things done. So I know within the community, there's a million people out there who have these grandiose plans for their YouTube series or their layout that they're building or their customs that they're doing, and they just don't get it done. And you know what? That's important skills to build. Like, finishing a project is finishing a project. It doesn't matter. Like, I think nowadays we don't put enough emphasis on just being creative and doing things just to do things.
yeah.
Yeah, we feel like, don't sing if you're not good at it. Don't dance if you're not good at it. Don't paint if you're not good at it. And that's just so not the case. You know what?
And
If you
that's
want to
what-
build customs, build some shitty customs. Like, do it. They'll eventually get good. But you gotta do some shitty stuff first. Put together some shitty YouTube videos.
Build a
Whatever.
shitty layout, I guess. I mean, I've never really seen a shitty layout. I've seen like layouts.
Well, you
that-
just really like layouts. That's why you're the
Well, yeah.
host of Trackplan Banter.
Well, there is that.
That's kind of your favorite part. You're like, sure, put track on the roof of the roundhouse. It makes sense. Do it.
Though it does make me wonder if I'll use the track on top of the roundhouse in my Sudrian project.
Oh, I'll tell you the other thing that you did a lot when you were, I don't know, maybe like 10 years old, is building the highest, like, levels. Like, putting something
Oh, yeah.
from a table to...
So everyone remember that shot in the yearbooks where they have the track that goes off of the Thomas play table and onto the floor. Yes, you remember it. You're Thomas fans. So,
I have no idea what he's talking about.
well... Anyway, I tried to do that multiple times.
You probably showed it to me 4 times.
Probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I couldn't even remember what number Percy is. Okay. Yeah. You know what I hated? Was when you knew you had one more switch. And you're like, okay, cool. We can, like, set up this area. And then, so you kind of start setting up something knowing that you're going to use this one switch. And then when you pull out that switch, it's like a female, male, and you need a male, female, or vice versa, whatever. Do you remember those days? You probably
A
like
few of those.
think way ahead of that stuff now.
Nope.
No? That still happens?
That still happens.
Dude, you know calculus now.
You know what also happens? I use a switch and then forget I used it.
Ah, yes, been there. Been there. I remember that happening.
And then I get to the point where I'm like, I relied on having that switch, and I was like, oh shit, I used it.
Yep. Been
Sometimes I'll even set it aside to be like, I need that for this place over here. And then I unknowingly grab it and use it, not even thinking about it.
I'm surprised you do that. I mean, it would make sense for like me to do that, but I'm surprised you do that.
You think I don't do brain dead sometimes?
Oh, I know you do brain dead. I'm your mom. But I mean, you were the type as a kid, you could tell me like exactly how many pieces of straight track you had, or you knew exactly how many switches you had. You knew exactly how many engines you had.
Well, yeah, back then I had a smaller amount.
Well, true. Yeah.
Now it actually fills up all those bins up there. Like right behind that one box, there are like 3 bins.
Oh, look,
stacked.
it's even labeled.
Yeah.
Straight track. Yeah. Look at that. It's the only organized thing in here.
Yeah.
That and the Cards Against Humanity. I don't... That's organized. I don't... I'm not sure how you organize that, but you've managed to. It's very, very neat. You know what, though? You're still doing the same thing now at 19 as what you did as a kid. It was, how do I make all of this fit together? I think I just knocked a face off your table.
No, a gun.
Nope.
Not a real gun, people. Just a plastic transformer gun.
Okay. Yeah, but it's still that whole, how do I make all of this fit together? You know, whereas a kid, it was just, these are the destinations that I have. How do I make them fit together in a way that makes sense? And now it's, how do I make the entire island fit together in a way that makes sense?
And it's so much more than just, like, the locations and the map. It's also the stories, the characters. Anyone who's familiar with what I've said before knows that I'm trying to fit the TV series characters earlier on in the timeline in a more Railway Series-esque manner, to stick true to that style of them being real engines, and just also giving more significance to Oliver being like the last steam engine, that the steam engine that managed to escape. It kind of feels cheap if 20 steam engines arrive after that.
Yeah.
So working out their arrivals, and also I'm a big fan of operations, which is something I don't see at all in the Thomas community, really. At least not to the level that I'm interested in them, where it's running the trains realistically. It's modeling not just the layout and not just the trains, but also the jobs that they would perform. And my mother is lost.
I'm not following anymore.
We're recording.
Hi, Wyatt. Hey, Wyatt! Come discuss track plans. What do you hate the most about having trains set up in the house?
We can't use them for the fire when it's cold.
Why not?
Because I love them. And they are my children.
The trains are your children.
Well, they're not. They're more Audrey's children than my children.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that we have said enough. That we have been here long enough. So, as always, this is Rudy Productions, aka Dustin.
And I'm Mom, aka Danae, aka Rudy Horsemanship.
And see y'all next time.